All right, hey everyone, good Friday afternoon, 3:23 p.m., and we're just getting things up and rolling here with our severe weather coverage this afternoon. It's been quite a week, hasn't it? We've done this a couple or a few times this week. Of course, the worst day was on Tuesday, but even yesterday we had some threatening weather in some parts of the area.
Eric, I'm just getting a kind of circle on the website, just a heads up.
Just getting a circle on the website.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like buffering.
Hmm.
I don't know if you see anything different on your end.
Not there right now, but I will be in a second. Yeah, when I go to the website, hit refresh, Andrew. It's working for me now. Or wait, no, there goes the buffering again. Now it's working.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right, so it looks like we're good to go. Thanks to everyone who may be joining us on the website, wfmj.com, and we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube this afternoon as well. 3:25 p.m. and let's get things rolling here. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the northern half of Trumbull. This is basically north of Warren and Vienna. It includes Cortland, it includes Mecca, Farmington, Mesopotamia as well. Thunderstorms capable of producing some pretty strong winds, and these storms have even had a history of producing loop on this. This is going to be mostly, I think, aimed at areas kind of on the north end of Mosquito Lake and northward, the closer you are to the Ashtabula line. The farther south in Trumbull County you are, you have a lower chance of seeing this cluster of storms, and that's why the warning is really in effect for just the northern half of the county. But yeah, this storm, as it's rolled through parts of Geauga County, Lake County, back towards the Cleveland metro area as well. Cuyahoga County has seen some gusty winds, and there's been some upticks in the hail cores with these storms this afternoon. We're also keeping an eye on what's going on to our west, and for the vast majority of our viewing area, these may be the storms that we have to pay a little bit closer attention to, that we're kind of getting grazed in northern Trumbull, but a larger percentage of our TV viewing area may be impacted by these storms that are rolling through kind of the I-77 corridor right now, Canton on south, and back towards Worcester. These have also had a history of producing some hailstones and some gusty winds. We even had some modest circulation with a couple of these storms earlier on. Brief tornado warning south of Mansfield earlier on this afternoon. And as I bring up the warning information once again, do any of these storms still have a tornado possible tag? Yeah, this one back still south of Mansfield still has a tornado possible tag on it. That's near I-71. The lead storms out ahead of that do not have the same tag. That's probably a hail-producing storm south of New Philly in Tuscarawas County. More hail possibly falling out of this storm near Flushing, just north of Interstate 70. Now that one's going to miss our viewing area to the south. But some of this activity back in here, the I-77 corridor, New Philly, up to Canton, and then points to the west. This could very well push into our television viewing area before the afternoon is through. So just like we did the other day, we'll kind of zoom out and take a look at kind of the broad view of things here, in addition to the handful of warnings that we're keeping a close eye on this afternoon. We also have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect yet again for our entire viewing area. All the counties in yellow. This watch runs until 7 p.m. It includes all the counties in our viewing area and a lot of the surrounding counties as well. Northern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and down into southeastern Ohio, and all the way out into central Ohio as well. And just like we've seen with these watch boxes over the last few days, as the severe weather risk starts lowering county by county, they'll start trimming that watch out of certain counties. I think in our TV viewing area, we are going to be fair game to see some heavy gusty storms through about 6 to 7 this evening. Then we should be in pretty good shape for the rest of the evening, although more rain is in the forecast for the rest of the evening and the overnight as well. Everyone who is watching, hopefully you can hear us just fine. I don't see any comments on Facebook that our mics aren't on or anything like that, so it looks like we're good to go there. And it looks like the stream is still running on our website as well. So it looks like all our ducks are in a row. The other day we had a problem on the website. My fault. I forgot to click one thing, and it's a lot of hoops to get through to get these live streams up and running in all the various venues we want to be streaming live on. So let's focus briefly on the northern Trumbull County warning. This runs until 4 o'clock, so another half an hour on this, and I'll bring up the latest hail tracker to see if our radar algorithm here is picking up on any decent hail cores, and yet not as much as earlier. Probably a little bit of hail in southern Ashtabula County, and when I look at my off-screen radar source, southern Ashtabula, probably northwestern Trumbull, probably trying to see at least a few hailstones out through here as well. Bristol, up towards the Geauga County line near Middlefield. Nothing all that severe in terms of the hail, but the wind threat is certainly there. When I bring up the data off the Cleveland radar source here, the wind data, you're going to see some bright colors coming into northwestern Trumbull, right in through there. Query that in a couple of spots. The radar's picking up on some wind gusts here of 50 plus miles per hour, and this is enough to certainly rearrange your patio furniture and things like that. We're not going to see a derecho this afternoon or anything near a derecho like we had in our southern viewing area, and especially down towards I-70 and closer to Pittsburgh on Tuesday evening. We got clipped by that in Columbiana County, of course. We're not going to see a repeat of that this afternoon, but any of these storms could certainly bring some strong wind gusts. I'm joined behind me by meteorologist Andrew DiPaolo this afternoon, and just like the other day, kind of the same time of day, Andrew will have a full accounting of what is happening currently and what will happen as we go through the rest of the evening, coming up on 21 News at 5. You can watch that on, of course, traditional cable. You can watch it online as well, WFMJ.com, as well as our mobile apps. And so Andrew is joining me this afternoon, keeping an eye on things. And hopefully, Andrew, we don't have thousands and thousands of power outages like we did the other day. Again,
back yesterday, correct?
Yeah, I live in Columbiana County, and we had a good 48 hours of no power, and I threw out a lot of food out of the fridge this morning. Not everything, but certainly anything egg-based, eggs and mayonnaise and things like that. We had to ditch a lot of that, and went to the grocery store this morning and replaced a lot of it. Because that was a rough 48 hours. Thankfully, it wasn't like July where it's going to be super hot, and it wasn't the dead of winter where it gets dark at 4:45 p.m. and it was cold outside. We're kind of in the time of the year in which air conditioning is not a necessity a lot of times, and we're pretty much done with furnace season as well. So looking at the bright side, could have been worse, but still, 48 hours without power is certainly no fun.
And Eric, real quick, we're talking about the severe thunderstorm warning in Trimble County. There's a couple of flood advisories too. One in Geauga County. There was one in Cuyahoga County. Following those warnings, take a look at the rainfall rates, the precipitation rates rather. Now pushing into Trumbull County. These are some really impressive numbers. Definitely warranting the flood advisory. Around the Mesopotamia area, 2 3/4 inches. Just north of the Farmington area, just into Portage County, near the Newberry, Hiram area, Welshfield area. You're talking about precipitation rates that are picking up close to, if not just around 3 inches per hour.
Yeah, and for those who are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you may not be able to hear Andrew that well, but Andrew was just mentioning these high rainfall rates, and some flood advisories have been issued in parts of northern Ohio this afternoon. These rainfall rates are pretty impressive. This is an air mass that's a little more typical of summer. It's warm, it's humid. It's early May now, so it's not that unusual to see days like this at this time of the year. But lots of moisture in the atmosphere to be wrung out, and so 2 to 3 inch per hour rainfall rates. Now, thankfully, everything is moving pretty quickly, so we're not going to see these things sitting over one location for very long. But certainly some impressive rainfall rates out there in parts of Geauga and now into northwestern parts of Trumbull as well. And we may be seeing some small hail, and sometimes small hail can kind of fool the radar algorithm a little bit, thinking it's heavy rain when in reality it's hail. I don't think we're seeing big hailstones out of this, but a little bit of hail could certainly be in the mix in northwestern Trumbull right now. And I was mentioning the wind. That's probably the bigger threat. In addition to the briefly heavy rain, we're seeing some pretty impressive wind gusts here in northwestern Trumbull with 40 to 50 miles per hour being sampled by the radar here. And we're getting pretty far away from the Cleveland radar source. We're probably sampling this storm, up at about, let's see here. That's at about 4,000 feet, roughly, off the surface. Northwestern Trumble's closer to the Cleveland radar source than the Pittsburgh radar source, but it's getting a little bit far. So we're not exactly sampling this storm near the ground, but I think these wind speeds that we're showing or sampling here are pretty realistic as to what's probably going on the ground. So pretty good storm right now. Mesopotamia, Bloomfield, Farmington. This is Route 88 crossing Mosquito Lake, and then up towards the Route 87 corridor. So heads up in Johnston, Gustavus, Mecca. This storm is going to be tracking your way down towards Cortland. It's probably a near miss. Not far to the north, though. You're probably going to get swiped by this storm. Let's put a radar loop on this. Yeah, this is a little more aimed north of Route 88. So Mecca and Johnston on north towards the Ashtabula line is where this is mostly aimed, and this warning runs for another 25 minutes until 4 p.m. this afternoon. And again, for those just joining us on the live stream, a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for our entire television viewing area, all the counties in yellow. This runs until 7 p.m. This is, our third severe thunderstorm watch just this week. And I think it was last Friday. We didn't have any watches. I don't think we even had any warnings last Friday, Andrew, but we had to watch every last little thing on that day last Friday. It was just one of those days where there was a lot of wind shear. Yep. The instability was a little bit meager, but a lot of wind shear, and so every last little thing was trying to spin, and we just had to keep a real close eye on things. So
good deal of heavy rain as well, but one of those situations where every scan you had to stay glued to because there was just enough real ragged rotation that it made us stay glued to the radar.
Yeah, so it's been a busy 7 days. Nothing unusual for this time of the year. Our severe weather chances typically ramp up pretty quickly by late April and early May. Climatologically speaking, late May and early June is kind of the crescendo or the peak of severe weather season of all types, whether it be tornadic activity or hail or damaging winds. But certainly early May can be a busy time of the year. Now, we had some sunshine earlier today. I'm going to play the visible satellite loop here. The clouds are starting to dominate. We're starting to see some outflow from some of these approaching storms and some blow off, if you will, at the high levels, and this can help us out a little bit in terms of stabilizing the atmosphere perhaps a little bit. We may be past now the most unstable part of the day, the warmest part of the day with the most sunshine. So that's one factor we'll be keeping an eye on as everything starts approaching from the west. It may be running into an atmosphere that isn't quite as unstable thanks to the clouds pushing overhead. But yeah, some scattered thunderstorms here. Everything is a little more scattered in nature today than certainly that organized Boeing Echo, derecho or not, that moved through parts of eastern Ohio a few days ago. Everything's a little more scattered in nature today, but some scattered thunderstorms, Dover, New Philly, Strasburg up to Canton, coming up towards Atwood Lake, and then the Delroy and Carrollton areas in Carroll County. And more scattered thunderstorms down towards I-70. And I think, generally speaking, for our viewing area, this cluster right in through here is what is going to impact most of people that can watch us on traditional TV. If you live in our television viewing area, in other words, that's Trumbull, Mahoning, Columbiana counties in Ohio, Mercer and Lawrence counties in Pennsylvania. When I refer to our TV viewing area, that's kind of what I'm talking about. So that cluster I've circled here, that's probably the cluster that's going to impact the most people in our viewing area this afternoon.
And Eric, the hail sizes have been generally quarter size, marble size, half inch up to an inch. We saw a couple that have exceeded that. Right now, getting a report in from the National Weather Service in Pittsburgh of 2.5 inch hail. And looking at our hail area, just off to the a little bit off to the south of Deersville, Route 22, 250. So some big time hail there.
Yeah, this is going to miss us, thankfully, to the south, but down towards Wheeling, certainly, Flushing to Wheeling, this hail core measured by our hail algorithm here of 2 inches plus. That have a thunderstorm of this magnitude. Again, this is down towards I-70, down towards Wheeling, and thankfully this particular storm is going to miss us to the south. This will be more of a problem, of course, for Wheeling, perhaps eventually over towards West Liberty and the kind of the central panhandle of West Virginia. But that's pretty impressive stuff. And the other day we kind of thought some of those storms might produce hail of that magnitude. It ended up being just a big wind threat on Tuesday with that cluster of storms. But today the the atmosphere is a little more conducive, I think, to some of these big hailstones. And northern Trumbull into Ashtabula, nothing like down towards Wheeling, but there's not much being shown on the hail algorithm here. But I'm not going to be surprised if some P's are falling out of this, some pea-size hail from West Farmington and across 87 and 88 in the northern parts of Trumbull. But that looks sub-severe to me in terms of any hail up here. It's a bigger wind threat up here in northern Trumbull. I'll bring up the Cleveland radar source here once again and show you the wind velocity data. All these red colors are winds that are blowing away from the radar source. That, of course, near the Cleveland area. So all of this is winds pushing from west to east. The brighter the colors, the stronger the winds. Right now it looks like the strongest wind is probably with this core near Andover, just north of the Trumbull-Ashtabula line and just north of Route 322. Perhaps some 40 to 50 mile per hour winds up there. Not sampling as strong of wind gusts once you're down into kind of the northern, say, 20% of Trumbull County, Mecca on northward. But certainly the wind gets more and more impressive with that core up near Andover right now. That's near the state line. That's near the Ashtabula-Crawford line up near Route 322 in Ashtabula County. Zoom out here and take a look at the broad view once again. For those just joining us, it's 3:40. We'll do some live streaming coverage here for a little while. We have some active warnings across the region. We have one in our viewing area. That's in northern Trumbull County right now. We have a severe thunderstorm watch for our entire area until 7 p.m. And I'll put a loop on our radar here. We have that cluster in northern Trumbull up into Ashtabula, and the other cluster we're keeping a close eye on is pushing through the I-77 corridor right now from Canton down towards New Philly and then down towards Flushing, Wheeling areas. A couple of these storms are producing some big-time hailstones, that's for sure.
This warning now that's moving through New Philadelphia, Sherrittsville, going to be pushing towards Carrollton, probably will clip our southern viewing area. Maybe, if I'm tracking it right, towards like the Salineville area eventually.
Yeah, right now the polygon extends almost to Carrollton, and if this storm holds together, which it looks like it's probably going to do, I don't see much weakening, we'll probably get a new polygon. Yeah, as Andrew was mentioning, that might clip kind of the southwestern part of Columbiana. So heads up from Guilford Lake on west. It's another warm day, and it's a Friday. There may be some people out on the lake if you know someone who is out on Guilford Lake, or especially Atwood Lake. But any of our area lakes, even if they're a little outside of our viewing area, if you know someone who is out there who may not be paying much attention to the weather, maybe send them a text or give them a call and say, hey, now's the time to pack it in for the day, because you don't want to be out on a body of water. Due to the wind and due to the lightning threat as well. The water is not a place to be when you have a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning, that is for sure. Probably getting a couple of hail cores here. I'll bring up our hail tracker. Around New Philly and then over towards Uricksville and Bowerston, probably seeing some hail, yeah. Might be up to 1 inch in diameter, at least a half an inch. This one right here is in eastern Tuscarawas County, heading over towards Harrison County. So that's going to be a possibility in any storm this afternoon, that occasionally some decent-sized hailstones. Hopefully nothing like with the storm that's down towards I-70. That hail core right around the Wheeling area right now, maintaining itself, probably 1 inch to 2 inches plus. In fact, the Weather Service, with that warning, as Andrew mentioned a few moments ago, 2.5 inch diameter quoted in the warning text on that warning down towards Wheeling. So that's trouble. That's no good at all. All right, so in our television viewing area, I'll just bring up the radar here. We have one warning until 4 o'clock in northern Trumbull. We have a couple of showers and storms around Route 30 from Lisbon down towards East Liverpool. Those are sub-severe right now, but we may have additional warnings in our viewing area with this activity off to the west, closer to I-77, getting set to push in as we go through the next couple of hours. We are fair game to see some strong to severe thunderstorms in our area, probably through the 6 to maybe 7 o'clock hour, and then we should be free and clear from any severe weather threats for the rest of the night tonight. And again, it's 3:43. We've got an hour or so to go until 21 News at 5. Andrew will bring you up to date on our newscast then. I'll be on at 6 o'clock to talk about what is on the radar at that point and what we can expect for the rest of the evening and into the weekend. If you've been following weather forecasts over the last few days, the forecast continues to trend kind of downhill from the weekend into early next week. It was just a couple of days ago that we thought from Sunday through early next week would be a really nice stretch, but not so much at this point. It looks like one of those springtime upper-level low-pressure systems which a handful of days ago looked like it would be out to sea. Instead, it's going to miss its ride. It's just going to get stuck and spin and bring us showery weather through the first half of next week. So we're not happy about that, certainly. I'm running in the Pittsburgh Half Marathon on Sunday. Don't think we're going to have a lot of rain marathon time Sunday morning, but certainly it'll be possible to see a couple of showers in Pittsburgh and throughout our area Sunday morning. Better chance for rain probably Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. All right, so again, kind of recapping here, until 4 o'clock we have a severe thunderstorm warning up in northern Trumbull. Anyone on Mosquito Lake, especially the northern half of the lake, definitely needs to be off of the water at this point. This is coming across the Route 322 corridor in Ashtabula County, the Route 88 and 87 corridor in northern Trumbull County, so heads up over towards Kinsman, Mecca, Johnston, and points off to the north. Pretty good thunderstorm getting set to push through. Upstream, everything is pretty benign up near Lake Erie and up near Cleveland as well. And so again, I think our main severe weather threat will be over the next couple of hours. First with the activity in northern Trumbull, and then with the activity that's back towards, just south of Mansfield and all the way over, towards New Philly right now.
And Eric, I'll give you a little bit of a break here for some non-severe weather-related news, traffic-related news. We're looking at one of our storm tracker cams in Bourbon right now. There's a few fire trucks. Unclear of what the issue is, but it is clear that a fire truck is at least blocking the westbound lane. And so there's going to be some traffic issues, at least heading westbound. And looks like there's some decent traffic built up eastbound as well. So kind of both lanes of traffic on Route 224. There's some issues, not 100% clear, like I said, what has caused this, but enough for there to be some first responders out there blocking the roadway.
Yeah, this is our 224 camera, which is at the intersection of 224 and Market Street by the Walgreens there, and we're looking towards the Poland area, looking east here as 224 rises on that hill. You get closer to Target and places like that. Several emergency vehicles there. So good catch there, Andrew. And I'm sure we will be talking about that in our newscast this evening. Whatever's going on, 224 on Friday afternoon is no fun on a regular day, but now traffic is being diverted and backed up as a result of that. No good. All right, back to our weather coverage here. We've got 15 minutes more to go on our active severe thunderstorm warning up in northern Trumbull County. That's this polygon right here. It runs until 4 o'clock. It includes kind of the northern, maybe 25 to 30% of Trumbull County. We have no other active warnings in our TV viewing area, but we have several warnings just to the south and to the west. Look at all these polygons down here. This extends from New Philly south and east towards Wheeling, Steubenville, and then also back to the west, south of Worcester, south of Mansfield as well. The strongest storm is this one down here, closer to the Wheeling area. This has had a history of producing hail size up to maybe 2 inches plus. Thankfully for our viewing area, that is going to miss us to the south. All right, so the hail size with our storms that are approaching from the west, thankfully, is not quite as large. But certainly you can see maybe up to penny-size hail around Route 250 from New Philly down towards Uricksville. Perhaps even larger hailstones now south of Bowerston. This is that core right here. This is going to be mostly aimed at areas to our south, mostly over towards southern Carroll and then especially into Jefferson County. Don't think that hail core that I'm highlighting right there is going to clip southern Columbiana, but the one near New Philly may. Certainly some of these heavier downpours near Malvern up towards Bolivar, you have a chance of getting in on some of that in Columbiana County, certainly, but this one specifically near Bowerston is probably more aimed into extreme southern Carroll and then over into Jefferson County as well. I think we are seeing a couple of hail cores here, one near Bolivar. Probably has some pennies falling out of it. This one right up here. This one is outside of any warning polygons. But heads up as you get closer to Minerva, I think. That's probably going to impact you before too much longer. And anyone downstream of Minerva, closer to New Garden, closer to Hanoverton, and then eventually over towards Guilford Lake in the Lisbon area. You have to watch that one pretty carefully as well.
No reports. Let me turn the mic on here. There we go. No reports, Eric, of any hail out of Trumbull County that I saw, but there was a report out of Ashtabula County, Orwell, of hail of an inch in diameter.
That sounds about right. And our hail algorithm is picking up on a little bit of hail here, north end of Mosquito Lake, up towards the Ashtabula line, and we've seen a couple of hail cores up near the Route 322 and Route 6 corridors up in Ashtabula County. But all of that is more conversational hail than anything else. It's probably not going to do anything, or it's not the size that's going to cause damage and that sort of thing. But certainly notable conversational. There's one hail core right now, probably right over Route 11 or just east of Route 11 and coming into the Kinsman area. So it's probably getting some hail right in through here right now, just north of Mecca, between Mecca and Kinsman. You could be seeing some P's, maybe up to pennies, with those hailstones. So decent hail and a wind threat as well. Here's the latest wind data off the Cleveland National Weather Service radar source. We're sampling the storm pretty far up into the storm at this point, but still some 20 to 50 mile per hour gusts will definitely be a possibility as the storm continues making eastward progress into the northeastern part of Trumbull County and then eventually into northwestern Mercer, southeastern Ashtabula, southwestern Crawford County as well. A lot of lightning out there. I mentioned no one should be on the water because of the wind threat, but also because of the lightning as well. We're picking up on several dozen lightning strikes here. A couple of them are positive voltage. For those who are unfamiliar with why we show these different types of voltages, all lightning is dangerous, of course. You can be struck by any type of lightning, but volts that have a positive voltage tend to strike things on the ground a little more often, and also tend to have a higher voltage than ones that have negative voltage. But again, that's splitting hairs a little bit. But anytime you see on our lightning tracker here a lot of numbers in the positive strikes column, that's a particularly dangerous storm. Right now, the ratio is much more negative strikes, but again, all lightning is dangerous. We don't want to emphasize the wrong things here. If you can hear thunder when it roars, go indoors. And on a warm Friday afternoon in early May, there's going to be people out on area lakes and that sort of thing, and everybody should be getting off of those lakes, especially Guilford Lake here in Columbiana County. There's a downpour near Lisbon right now, in fact. Non-severe and not associated with any of the severe warnings that are off to the west, but still we are getting a downpour right now around the Lisbon area, around Route 30 and Route 11. No lightning and thunder currently with that. But we do have some lightning and thunder back towards New Philly, coming over towards Sherrodsville around Route 39, and then heading up towards the Route 30 corridor in Minerva, over to the Canton area. And again, I suspect there's a few hail cores mixed in there as well. The strongest of which is going to miss us to the south. That one's down in Harrison County, east of Uricksville, south and east of Bowerston right now. Weather Service in Cleveland's going to go with a special weather statement for Stark, not a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's more of a heads up than a true warning. They're putting out a special weather statement for this activity that's over kind of the Canton area and especially south and east of Canton now. So no severe thunderstorm warning with that. We're getting a storm report from Belmont County of pretty large hailstones, 1.75, 1 3/4 inches down there. That's well to our south, of course. So off screen here, we get these reports very frequently on a day like today. We get these kind of alerts from the National Weather Service offices in our region. Of course, Pittsburgh and Cleveland cover Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania, and so we get all the products that they issue, including all these local storm reports, via the National Weather Service chat room that all broadcast meteorologists, emergency managers, along with employees of the National Weather Service are a part of. So the risks this afternoon, probably for the next 2.5 to 3 hours, hail, strong winds. It's a non-zero tornado risk, but the tornado risk overall is pretty low. I would say it's a 1 to 2%, something like that. Now, when you consider climatologically an average early May day, the tornado risk on an average early May day is probably something like 0.2%. If it's 1%, that's many orders of magnitude higher than just a typical day. But still, the tornado risk overall in the grand scheme of things, compared to the just wind risk and the hail risk, is definitely in third place as far as our risks overall today.
Yeah, we've seen some real ragged rotation. I mean, this goes back to yesterday too, and like we talked about last Friday as well. But nothing after a couple of scans that has been consistent enough to issue a tornado warning. Of course, we saw that lone tornado warning in the Mount Gilead area today, but that was it.
Yep. Yeah, we had one warning, as Andrew was mentioning, back towards Mount Gilead. That's closer to the Mansfield area, closer to I-71. That's been the only tornado warning. It's a risk, or it's a day where the risk for tornadic activity is probably highest near the Ohio River in southern Ohio, and then down into Kentucky. I'll bring up the real quickly here the national radar to show you where that activity is. A severe thunderstorm watch extends all the way down, in fact, into the deep south. Look at all the counties in yellow here. Tornado watch extends from Texas basically to western Pennsylvania almost continuously. But the tornado risk is definitely a little higher today down in this zone back through here. Again, the risk is non-zero here locally, but it's definitely lower than some of our neighbors off to the south. We're getting a new severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah, parts of Mercer, just extreme northern Mercer. Yeah. All right, so new severe thunderstorm warning. This includes Greenville all the way over towards the Venango line. This runs until 4:45. So that's our new severe thunderstorm warning. That's because of this cell that's moving through the Kinsman area right now. The current storm over northern Mercer looks non-severe, but the storm that is inbound in northeastern Trumbull right now has had a history of producing some hail and some strong wind gusts as well. That warning again runs for about 50 minutes until 4:45 this afternoon. Just looking at my off-screen radar source here, we're also getting pretty far away from radar sources up here in northern Mercer. But yeah, we're probably seeing an uptick in the wind as this approaches the state line. This is a pretty healthy looking thunderstorm over towards the Kinsman area right now. We're probably getting some hailstones, even if they're relatively small, and the wind is probably ticking up as well. Coming close to Kinsman, from Gustavus over to Kinsman, half an inch in diameter hail. That's a possibility right now. And while I don't see any obvious rotation with this, we'll have to watch that as that storm continues to cycle up perhaps a little bit. The National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh covers Mercer County. Cleveland actually covers Crawford County, PA, which seems really far away, but they actually cover Crawford and Erie counties in northwest PA. The Pittsburgh office covers Mercer County, as well as Lawrence County in our TV viewing area. All right, so that's our newest warning. The warning in Trumbull that expires in 4 minutes will probably be allowed to expire at 4, although this storm may still be in the far northeastern part of Trumbull here coming up in 4 minutes. Moving through Kinsman right now, but it'll be crossing the state line just after 4 o'clock, it looks like, heading over towards Jamestown, and heads up in Greenville as well. And if you're watching from anyone watching in northern Mercer County right now, just keep in touch with the weather certainly for another 45 minutes to an hour. Pretty healthy thunderstorm currently near New Lebanon, heading over towards Sheakleyville around I-79. That current storm, this one right here, looks mostly non-severe, but it's pretty strong. It's a healthy storm. But the warning that was just issued is because of what is upstream in northeastern Trumbull County. If you're watching from Mahoning County right now, anyone watching from Youngstown to Boardman and Canfield and Poland and kind of the big population centers in Mahoning County, the weather is quiet for the time being. The activity to the north is certainly a miss for us, but for us in Mahoning County, we have to keep an eye on what's going on back here to the south and west. Some of this activity closer to Canton, New Philly, Carrollton right now, coming into Minerva. Some of this is going to certainly impact us in Columbia and Mahoning counties here as we head into the 4 o'clock hour. A couple of warnings down here from New Philly east and another one from Bowerston on east. And the strongest storm on the board remains this one way down towards Interstate 70. This has had some big hailstones with it as it's getting set to cross from Ohio into the panhandle of West Virginia. Again, just recapping for those just joining us here on the live stream, we are doing some live streaming coverage this afternoon because we've had a couple of warnings here locally. We'll probably have another couple of warnings certainly before the day is through. And everyone is under a severe thunderstorm watch. That watch runs until 7 p.m. this evening, so we've got another 3 hours on the watch. I kind of suspect they're going to start trimming away the western counties from this watch here before too much longer, kind of the I-71 corridor in north and west. We may stay in the watch all the way through its expiration time at 7 in most of northeast Ohio. and northwestern Pennsylvania as well. So again, all the counties in yellow under a severe thunderstorm watch until 7 p.m. And just like the other day when we had that severe weather set up a few days ago on Tuesday, it's pretty humid. It's not July-like humidity, but dew points are up there. They're into the 50s to around 60. It's certainly not the most humid air mass in the world. So we're going to have days much more humid than this over the next 3-4 months. But it's enough juice in the atmosphere to produce this risk. And this risk is partly being aided by the presence of basically a stationary boundary across the area today. It's a dividing line between this humid air mass and a much drier air mass, which visited us yesterday and into Wednesday especially, that drier air mass. But it has retreated back to Michigan, northern Indiana, etc. That's where the more stable air is, but we're on the warm, more humid side of this boundary, and that's why the atmosphere is pretty unstable this afternoon. Going back into our TV viewing area here, and again, we have a couple of warnings on the board. One is going to expire here in 1 minute up in northern Trumbull, although this storm is still existing in far northeastern Trumbull. But the new warning that was just issued a few moments ago, it includes northern Mercer, runs until 4:45 this afternoon. I think we're starting to see some pretty decent-sized hailstones here in the Kinsman area. Looking at my off-screen radar source here, yeah, we may be seeing almost up to quarters at this point. I'll bring up our hail algorithm. This is now, again, this is far northeastern Trumbull. This product is a few minutes behind, basically, so I think our hail is more in the area that I just circled. And, we're probably seeing, maybe up to quarters here. Perhaps even approaching 1 inch in diameter, right around the state line now. Kinsman, and right over the state line and up into extreme southeastern Ashtabula, at least a 1/2 inch in diameter, perhaps even close to 1 inch. And we're probably also seeing an uptick in the wind threat with that as well. Yeah, so that warning, they extended, I see, they extended the northeastern Trumbull warning. It was set to expire at 5, but they've gone ahead and with a new warning that was just issued. And kept northeastern Trumbull, included southeastern Ashtabula, and also got up to Crawford County until 4:45, because that storm has not quite exited northeastern Trumbull just yet. It's going to hang in there for a few more minutes in the Kinsman area, the Route 7 corridor, and then it'll cross over into western PA. Again, heads up Greenville, and especially maybe north of Greenville, up towards Jamestown, up towards Pymatooning Reservoir, all those places. Again, anybody on a boat certainly needs to be off the water at this point on Pymatooning. You've got some hailstones, you've got some gusty winds, and you've got some frequent lightning pushing in as well.
Yeah, and for everyone at home, you just brought up, Eric, a few minutes ago, we're split between 2 National Weather Service offices, which a lot of people might not know. And it takes some coordination in between the offices. You're going from a county in one warning area, one office's warning area, to Mercer County and Pittsburgh's warning area. They got to pick up the phone. They got to talk to each other to see what they're going to be doing next down the line here.
Yeah, and this intersection where this storm is, it's right on the intersection of not only the states, not only the counties, but right on the intersection of National Weather Service office coverage areas as well. And you may have seen in the news of late, there's a lot of staffing issues at many National Weather Service offices across the country. So kudos to anyone who is working this afternoon at our local National Weather Service offices. They both do a great job, even in, sometimes some pretty difficult staffing situations. And, we've been talking with both of our weather service offices of late with our coverage of the anniversary of the May 31st, 1985 tornado coming up this month, believe it or not, at the end of the month, May 31st, 40-year anniversary. So we're going to be covering that in many ways over the next few weeks. We've got some interviews lined up with National Weather Service employees. There are employees at the Cleveland office and the Pittsburgh office who can certainly provide some valuable insight. There's some old-timers, if you will, who have been around since the mid-'80s who may have been working or may have known someone who was working back on May 31st, 85. So we, in addition to what we can provide from our folks here at 21 News, we've reached out to some of our National Weather Service folks as well to offer some perspective on 40 years since May 31st, 1985. So a handful of warnings now in east central Ohio. Now, a couple of these are a miss to the south, the one over Cambridge and the one coming into or just past the Wheeling area into the Panhandle, West Virginia. Those are missing us to the south. This polygon right here is also missing us in our viewing area to the south around Jewett-Scio right now and heading over towards Island Creek. This will probably come pretty close or just south of, say, Mountaineer Racino down in the Panhandle, West Virginia, south of Newell pretty much. That is aimed down there. For our viewing area, the one polygon that's near Sherrodsville and coming towards Carrollton and Delroy right now, this is near Atwood Lake. This may graze, here's the freshest scan right there. That core may graze southern Columbiana County. It'd be kind of a close call. We have an additional warning polygon back here. That's this one west of New Philly, west of I-77. Out into what many locals refer to as Amish country out there. It's a pretty rural area. Lots of horses and buggies out there for sure. Great shopping out there as well. And they are under a severe thunderstorm warning for another 11 minutes until 4:15. That includes Millersville and Sugar Creek. I'm from New Philly, so I'm very familiar with that part of the state of Ohio. That is for sure. A couple of great golf courses out there as well. In Columbiana County, we've got a couple of heavy downpours coming close, pretty close at this point to New Garden and Hanoverton. We've had a downpour around Lisbon. We've got a couple of isolated downpours now around Rogers, heading up towards East Fairfield along Route 7. Pretty windy road through here, especially once you get south of Rogers. It gets pretty windy, but north of Rogers is where the heaviest rain is right now, north of 558. This is Fairfield School Road right here. Up in Mahoning County, you're wondering, hey, what's going on here? Nothing's going on. All is quiet. In fact, I'll show you real quickly our Canfield Fairgrounds camera, and we have a swap meet there this week. Is that right, Andrew? Swap meet?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so big crowd there at the fairgrounds, and the sky certainly looks ominous, darkening skies, but you're not under an immediate threat here in Canfield and along the 224 corridor. The heavy storms are both to the north and to the south and west, but we're certainly not going to give you the all clear here. You certainly want to pay attention to this live stream and our coverage on air and online over the next couple of hours. Anybody who has any reason to be out and about, as many people do on a Friday evening in early May. And I'll real quickly check in on up 224. We mentioned this accident. This is Route 224. This is looking towards Poland away from the heart of Boardman. Andrew spotted this earlier on. It looks like we've still got a lot of emergency vehicles there.
We have some information on our website, Eric, about that. We just pushed it out. I'm going to read the latest just quickly. I believe from what we've heard from 911 dispatch and from Boardman Township Police, the latest on that is that it's a multi-vehicle pileup on 224, of course, by the Harbor Freight and of course discount grocery store that just went in there. So
yeah.
Big time traffic backup. Hope everybody's okay. Unclear of what the situation is at the moment. But we'll provide more information online and on 21 News at 5, as we get more information from Boardman Township.
Yeah, so head over to our website or the 21 News app, and as Andrew mentioned, coming up in less than 1 hour on 21 News at 5, you'll notice, weather-wise, our camera is shaking a little bit here. Now, this camera's elevated. It's up on a billboard, but shows you it is pretty breezy out there. It's a breezy, warm, kind of muggy afternoon, all ingredients, of course, for thunderstorms in the right kinds of situations. Going back to the radar, we have one pretty nasty thunderstorm that's right on the edge of our viewing area at this point, but it does have a warning still on it, and I'm speaking of extreme northeastern Trumbull, right near the Ashtabula line, the Crawford line, the Mercer line. We've got a pretty good hail core right over the state line right now. Bring up our hail algorithm, and again, this is usually a few minutes behind, so this is a little bit east of where it's graphically depicted right now, but the hail algorithm here, which sometimes is even a little bit conservative, is showing up to 1 inch diameter hail. And looking at my off-screen radar sources here, I think at least 1 inch, perhaps 1.25 inches near Jamestown right now, and that of course is right near the Crawford Mercer County line. So this is north of Greenville. If you're watching us from northwestern Mercer, this is in the extreme northwestern part of the county. The warning does include a lot of the northern reaches of Mercer, but it looks more and more like the meat of this storm, the heart of the storm, is just going to graze extreme northern Mercer and be right along the Crawford County line. I'll put a quick loop on this. It looks like, you know, this again is mostly non-severe up in the northeastern part of Mercer. The core of the warned storm here is right over Jamestown right now, and probably is going to miss Greenville and might even just miss Sandy Creek as well. And most of the I-79 corridor in Mercer County, probably just going to miss you to the north. So anyone who has reason to travel from I-79 up into Crawford County, though, certainly you're going to have to deal with this storm in pretty short order. We've got a couple of heavy thunderstorms up in Crawford County, another one up near Meadville as well, right along I-79. And I-79 is no fun right now up in Crawford County, PA. The warning runs until 4:45 in northeastern Trumbull, but they're going to expire that here before too much longer because the storm is almost just about completely out of northeastern parts of Trumbull County. Down in Columbiana County, again, no severe thunderstorm warnings right now. We have some fairly routine garden variety storms along the Route 30 corridor, but these can still be dangerous. A lot of lightning with these from Hanoverton eastward over towards Lisbon, but no large hail, no strong winds with that activity. Tuscarawas County now out of the warning. We have a couple of warning polygons to our south. The activity with this one coming towards Bloomingdale right now from Jewett on east, that's going to miss our TV viewing area to the south. That's more of a problem for Jefferson County and then eventually Hancock County, West Virginia. This warning polygon right here, which includes parts of Carroll County from Carrollton on south, boy, it might just graze southern Columbiana County. Summitville, Salineville, heading over towards Wellsville and East Liverpool eventually as well. That's going to be a close call there. And we've got one more warning polygon upstream. That's this one right here. I mentioned a few moments ago, this is west of New Philly, Walnut Creek area, Millersburg, Sugar Creek, all in that warning polygon. And again, that's one that may be a concern eventually for our viewing area. I'm starting to be more and more convinced that we may be in a little bit of a squeeze play here between some of the northern and southern action in places kind of between I-80 and 224. Even as far north as maybe Warren and Vienna, all the way down to the 224 corridor, kind of that zone in which that's kind of the heart of our population centers in our TV viewing area. You may miss a lot of this activity. It may just scrape by to your south, and a lot of this northern activity, of course, is missing you as we speak to the north, so we may get away with a minimal amount of activity threatening us in Warren and Vienna, even as far south as Youngstown, and maybe even the 224 corridor as well. It's starting to look more and more that way on our radar trends here. So again, I'm going to give you the all clear northeastern Trumbull at this point. The warning, they just trimmed it actually just a moment ago. They just trimmed it out. So all clear from severe for right now anyway, and probably for the rest of the evening, I suspect. In northeastern parts of Trumbull, they've added a tornado possible tag, I see, onto the warning that does include northern Mercer, but this is more of a Crawford County problem, I think. This storm over Jamestown has some large hailstones and maybe even trying to rotate a little bit as well. But I think that both the hail core and the possible rotation is just missing northern Mercer County. It's right on the county line right now and just about to completely cross over into Crawford County in northwestern PA.
There's a real broad rotation on Pittsburgh's velocity scans. You can tell a little bit on Cleveland's, but it's so far away from both.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, this is off the Pittsburgh radar here, and we're sampling the storm here, at 6,000 feet off the ground off the Cleveland radar, and it's probably more like 4,000 off the Pittsburgh radar. It's pretty far away from both radar sources. Nationwide, there are certain holes. In northwestern PA, from Erie down to Crawford, that's one of the bare ones. Unfortunately, you're really between the Buffalo radar to the north, the Cleveland radar to the west, the Pittsburgh radar to the south. It's a little bit of a coverage area hole here, but there is a little bit of broad rotation to speak of there, and that's why you see this tornado possible tag now on the warning for the Crawford County portion of that warning. And again, the Cleveland National Weather Service office does cover Crawford County in northwest PA. So close call there for northern Mercer, but we're just about going to be in the clear here in a couple of minutes. We'll give you the all clear probably in about 5 minutes in northern Mercer. And again, that's right on the state line, north of Greenville. If you're watching from the rest of northern Mercer, you're just about completely in the clear, even though you're technically and a warning for another half an hour or so. We're going to keep our live streaming coverage here going for a little while longer than, assuming the world is not ending. We're going to have to start getting more and more ready for our newscast coming up here at 5 o'clock, and then, of course, 6 o'clock as well. We'll have a complete recap of this afternoon and a weekend forecast. And, Andrew and I have not been the most popular people in the world this week, having to talk about our deteriorating forecasts for the weekend and beyond. I think the pattern will turn less unsettled by the second half of next week. And I do think today is probably the last day we have much of a severe weather concern. Showers, yes. And occasionally some thunderstorms in the afternoons especially, and there might be some graupel or small hail perhaps and some afternoon thunder showers by Sunday and early next week. But the threat for large hail and damaging winds and that sort of thing, I don't think the pattern will necessarily support that once we get through this afternoon. Certainly a cooler day coming up tomorrow, probably not much better than 60 as we kick off the weekend on Saturday. A couple of these stronger hail cores remain pretty obvious on the radar here, and appropriately enough, a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings are attached to some of those hail cores, but a lot of these are going to miss us to the south. We're going to keep an eye on a couple of these. They've dropped the warning out west of New Philly, out in Holmes County right now. We have one warning polygon that runs until the bottom of the hour for parts of southwestern Carroll County from Sherrodsville over into Delroy and the Atwood Lake region, coming into the Carrollton area, and especially just south and west of Carrollton. This warned cell here, this runs until 4:30. This is going to be a miss to the south, a near miss, but this is probably just to the south of the Ohio River, the part of the Ohio River that covers Wellsville and East Liverpool. It'll cross the Ohio River and come into the panhandle of West Virginia, certainly. So down towards Mountaineer and Toronto and other places along Route 7 and along the Ohio River. Do a quick loop on that. And you can see this is kind of aimed like this. It's going to be a close call in East Liverpool, but probably just to your south, across the river over to Chester and Newell, and again closer to the casino and race course. It looks like that storm is going to be mostly aimed there. And thankfully, all these warning polygons down towards I-70 will not be an issue for us. So again, we'll keep this live stream going for a few more minutes until it becomes a little more obvious that we're not going to see any warnings in the short term. But becoming more and more optimistic that a lot of us are going to miss the worst of this afternoon's setup. Certainly the ingredients are coming together better for hail and strong winds off to our south, closer to Interstate 70. Severe thunderstorm watch runs until 7 p.m. this evening for our entire television viewing area. But, as we get deeper into the 4 o'clock hour here, the writing is becoming a little more on the wall, a little more obvious that while some thunder and lightning and some downpours are going to be moving through, the risk of a lot of severe weather appears to be lowering in our TV viewing area. All right, let's bring up our storm reports from today and see what the National Weather Service has relayed thus far. Now, this goes back 24 hours, so let's actually restrict this to the last 12 hours. The banner is still going to say 24, but these are the Weather Service reports of severe weather over the last 12 hours, so basically just since this morning. More hail than damaging winds, certainly. You don't see any damaging winds icons on here, in fact. A lot of hail reports down towards I-70 and then up towards I-90, and we've kind of been somewhere in between across most of our TV viewing area. And so, it's been one of those days that we certainly needed to pay attention to the weather, but it's shaping up to be more and more of a near miss for most of the Mahoning and Shenango valleys and anyone who can watch us on TV in eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania. So a couple of clusters of hail reports have come in over the last handful of hours, but they've all been to the north and to the south, and while we probably have seen some hailstones in our viewing area, especially in far northeastern Trumbull, no reports relayed by the National Weather Service thus far. But it wouldn't be surprising if some residents up towards Kinsman certainly witnessed some decent-sized hailstones a little while ago. The National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh is going to continue a warning. That's in Jefferson and Harrison. That's this little polygon right down here. It's this guy.
Getting a storm report in from Belmont County of some siding damage from hail.
Siding damage.
Hail report measurement that came in was 1 3/4 inches diameter.
1 3/4 diameter hail causing some siding damage. And you know, when you get hailstones that big, if it's driven by the wind, it can certainly cause damage to siding. It can crack windshields and things like that. But all that's been down towards I-70. This hail track goes back 1 hour. I'll actually put a 2-hour loop on this, and we'll. You know, these hail cores aren't real big, so you have to kind of look carefully to find these. But this really flared up for a time right through here, just north of I-70, for a time this afternoon. So, eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, not exactly what I would call a hotbed of big hail, but we've had a couple of threats at least this week for some big hailstones. It didn't really come to fruition with the earlier week activity. That was more, of course, of a wind threat. But the atmospheric ingredients have been a little more favorable for some hailstones this afternoon. In the meantime, we have a pretty good thunderstorm coming across Route 30 right now, Hanoverton on east. So again, we're going to emphasize Guilford Lake is one of the major lakes here in west central parts of Columbiana County, but anyone on any other waterways across the region, you certainly they need to be off at this point. We've got a decent thunderstorm. We've got some thunder and lightning. It's a non-severe storm right now, but there can be a pretty good puff of wind with this. And all lightning, of course, is dangerous in many circumstances, but especially if you happen to be on the water. I got a comment earlier on Facebook, hey, what's going on with all this severe weather this week? And the truth of the matter is we're into early May now, and there usually is a big uptick in our thunderstorm days at this time of the year. We go from a long-term average of about 2.5 days with thunder in April to almost 5 days per May with thunder. In the area. Now, this isn't a severe weather chart, but it shows how many days per month on average we have thunder in the area. So there's usually a big uptick as you switch from April to May, and then another big uptick as you go from May to June. A lot of times we see more routine thunderstorms in the middle of summer. Our severe weather risk tends to diminish later in the summer, July, and especially into August. But you can still have days with thunder in the area, of course, that time of the year. But the severe weather risk, climatologically speaking, tends to peak May into early June, but again, there's usually a fairly sizable uptick at this time of the year. All right, Andrew, I think we're gonna cut our live stream off at this point as we get ready for our newscasts coming up at 5 o'clock. I don't see any obvious signs that we're going to see any new warnings.
Everything kind of is certainly weakened and just looks like your run-of-the-mill thunderstorm. So
Yeah.
I mean, can rain pick up from time to time? Sure. I mean, there might be some thunder and whatnot, but other than that, it's pretty run-of-the-mill.
It's pretty run-of-the-mill. It's pretty garden variety. And again, this storm in Columbiana County probably has a little bit of small hail around Hanoverton right now. So heads up Route 30. Just if you look real carefully, there it is. It isn't much, but there might be up to P's or so coming out of this storm, pea-size hail or a little larger around Route 30 in Columbiana County. Some thunder and lightning, but that's largely sub-severe. The activity in northwest PA is out of our viewing area at this point. The cluster of heavy thunderstorms down towards I-70 is going to stay out of our viewing area at this point. So we're going to keep a close eye on things, certainly for another couple of hours. We won't sound the all clear completely just yet. But for the purposes of our live streaming coverage, I think we will go ahead and stop that at this point. Make sure you're following me and Andrew and the rest of our team, including the Storm Tracker 21 accounts on social media. And whether you watch us on old traditional TV, on cable, or on the internet, be sure and tune into our newscast this evening for the latest on what's going on. So we'll sign off for now.